Excuse me. What year is it? 1987? Oh my god.
Welcome to episode number 2 of the Silver Screen Savants.
Yep.
We have joining us my co-hosts, DJ Anubis, Anthony Jordan, Movies and Gaming, and Jedi Greendale.
On the bottom again.
There you go. Exactly.
What?
Just what he likes. On the bottom.
On the bottom.
We are talking about the man with the golden gun.
Yeah, there you go.
More Bond.
More Bond. And
There you go.
we were gonna I was gonna kick this off like DJ Anubis, my co-host of this amazing, awesome show, did last week. And what is your ranking for this movie? Where do you rank it among the Bonds? I wanted to start there because I think that was a good example of how you should do like one of these Bond movies.
I don't even know, to be honest, because like I have select few of Bond films that are my favorites, and I haven't really sat there and like with Walter a while back, we did like a whole rank out the Godzilla films and stuff. But this, I've never actually sat and like ranked every Bond film. I probably should, but I haven't done it, so I'm not even really sure where this would end up until I've done a list. So that's something to keep in mind, though, because I know we're going to be doing more Bond films down the road, but I'm not really sure where this is. I know Live and Let Die is my number 1, which we did last week on episode 1, but not sure where this one would fit yet. Personally, maybe these guys know where it's at, but I don't.
Right.
Anthony Jordan, I'm moving to you for that question.
I haven't seen it seen all of them, so I can't really
Oh wow.
say, but I'd rank it pretty high. This is my favorite Roger Moore, but that does every now and then that can kind of flip flop with The Spy Who Loved Me. So it's at least a very solid entry.
Mm-hmm.
Passing it to you, Jedi Grand Vale. Same
Well,
question.
now I will say that despite all the different Bonds I've seen, and that would be a good category to talk about. What's your favorite Bond from the lowest to the highest? This one comes in. I ain't gonna say low. It's up there, but it's not. It's below Live and Let Die, which is one of my favorite Roger Moore films, but not my favorite of his films. It would be The Spy Who Loved Me for the win in terms of Roger Moore. With Sean Connery, it would be You'll Only Live Twice, but I won't go into all that. But it's quite up there. I mean, it's got its ups and downs, but it'd be hard. It'd be kind of hard to rank it because it's like I say, you would have to really dig deep to say what is considered. It's like where is that in top in terms of where is that in among the other ones? Just like when we did the Godzilla ones, it's like that'd be rough. I have to really think about it, but I mean, for right now, I just say it's like the top 20 at least. I would say.
Mm-hmm. And then my next question, like Kevin Lambert does, I wanted to ask, what was your first? Do you have a first memory of watching this movie or getting or experiencing it for the first time? Like how old or like? I'll start with DJ Anubis for that.
I don't remember the first time I saw it. I mean, obviously, like from the time that I saw Live and Let Die, which I had to be about 3 or 4 when I saw that, and then obviously years later, like when we get around the early 80s, when I started watching For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy and all them, like I was in my teens at that point. So certainly with Roger Moore, he became like my favorite Bond. So obviously I was kind of soaking in everything he was doing. So I'd go back and watch like Moonraker or The Spy Who Loved Me and stuff like that. So probably around that time I rented it, maybe on a VHS at the Hollywood Video or Blockbuster or whatever it was at the time. I probably just went and soaked up as many movies as I could because they didn't really. They played these movies like on HBO and stuff. We talked about the Brown Box, a while back, but it wasn't like they had marathons. Like you were kind of subjected to whatever was like the more recent stuff that was out there. That's how HBO played it back then. So it was definitely around the 80s probably that I actually caught this. And it's kind of funny because I was still new to even just horror and everything in terms of like remembering faces and stuff. So when I saw it, I wouldn't even realize at the time just how big of an actor that Christopher Lee was, in the grand scheme of things. So, you look back now and you're like, oh, it had Christopher Lee, dude. He's like a legend. It's like, but back then I didn't know who the fuck he was really.
Your turn, Anthony.
Well, that would be when I got this set here on DVD. It came with Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever, The Living Daylights, The World Is Not Enough, and of course, Man with a Golden Gun. And
When did you get that?
I think 2007.
What'd you think?
Listen, I really liked it the first time I saw it. I was excited when I heard Christopher Lee was in it, and I think it was actually the first one in this set I actually popped in because of that.
How many sets of those collections do they have?
They had 4 volumes. Hold on a second.
He's going to tell me he got them all.
I have all of them.
You do?
I have
Holy shit.
1, 2, and 4. I was never able to find Volume 3 in the stores.
Oh,
I,
really?
re-
Wow.
I remember having those on DVD before I got
Again, this was
this
back
stuff on
when
Blu-ray.
the internet wasn't quite as prevalent, and like I couldn't afford a computer, much less internet. So if I couldn't get it in the store, I was just completely out of luck, and none of the stores around me ever had Volume 3 in stock.
Right.
Oh, so what? I was gonna ask, like, so is it hard to get now because it was way back then, or?
I Googled it out of curiosity. Those sets you can still find reasonable on eBay, but there is a much better Blu-ray set with all of them. I'd
Yeah.
recommend just going with that.
Yeah. Probably better Blu-rays and stuff like that too.
Well, not just that, but like they had those really cheap cases for these.
Oh yeah, I think I actually have like the first 8 Harry Potters are like that. They're very thin, and then like the last 2 or 3 movies are all regular DVDs that I have.
And they don't hold the discs really well.
Yeah,
That is true. I remember owning it. Also, one of those, like, I remember owning the sets, and I think one of the DVDs broke because of how bad the case and stuff. That's never a fun thing with DVDs or Blu-rays or anything when you have bad cases that the discs just break real easily. But anyways, well, Jedi Grand Velle, I'll ask you the same question.
Oh man, I'm gonna mention a very interesting text, exciting text. A long time ago, in a neighborhood or a decade far, far away. This is back in the 70s, and I think it was like late 70s when I saw this film because, like I say, I didn't realize that at the time that, and the funny thing is, the only Bonds I knew were of Sean Connery and Roger Moore, and Roger Moore was inevitably my favorite because I think he was the first one that I saw. But yes, and they used to play them. That was the thing about that. They used to come on ABC at that time, and I didn't have cable yet, so they would show them. And unlike cable, when you see them on HBO, they would show the stuff that they couldn't show on regular television, like a little bit of cursing or a little bit of in the windows or whatever, anything like that. But it was like around 70. It was like, because I said it's late 70s, it's like the 77 or 78, something like that. And the funny thing is, at that time, let me correct myself. It was before the newer Bond, which was The Spy Who Loved Me, came out that I saw this film. It came out, I saw it before when that movie came out. I was kind of like, oh, they're making another Bond film that's coming out, and I'm just like, I mean, how many more of these are going to be? But yeah, I mean,
another funny thing. Sorry to cut you off, Jay. I'll let you get back. But the funny thing is, like, I think it was probably like around For Your Eyes Only or something. I think that was it. Like, where I realized at the end of the credits, they actually told you the next film was going to be, and I didn't even realize it at first.
No, but to see that, but here's the thing: I didn't find that out until like late 90s that they were doing that. They kind of cut that off back then on the NBC broadcast, so I would never know that that's what they were doing. And the funny thing is, they were supposed to show that. I mean, For Your Eyes Only after The Spy Who Loved Me, but with Star Wars interjecting into our lives, they had to do a Star Wars like kind of thing. So, and it was a book called Moonraker, Bond book and everything. So they had to do that. They had to catch up on those things. But yeah, that's the thing. They did do that.
Oh yeah, I had to go back to the first question because I didn't answer that my own way. If I had to rank this and stuff, I would put it in the 20s, in high 20s. Sorry, let me correct that and say like 18, 17, somewhere around there.
Yes,
that's about me. And then also to answer the second question, I remember seeing these on AMC. So I don't know if you guys remember, but AMC used to have, I don't know if they still do this or not, but around Christmas time, they would the 007 Days of Christmas and all this cool retro nostalgia stuff of 007 movies all Christmas long. I think I remember seeing
It was
that.
around. Yeah, I was going to say it was around the time when TV. It was they used to show on TBS and sometimes TNT. They would do that around the Christmas time, and I would gobble it up by watching it because like before I got it on physical media, that's when they started showing it. Doing that retroactive thing. And then you say they do those specials and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And then also, this to me is my introduction to Christopher Lee. I had never seen so I was about say 13, 14, somewhere around there when I had first seen this movie. I can't recall how old I was exactly, but I might have been a little bit younger than that. But to me, this is my introduction to Christopher Lee because I had never seen I had probably seen maybe Lord of the Rings as Saruman and Star Wars after Bond, if I can recall, but that was probably my first introduction to this amazing, fantastic actor. This guy is one of the best on-screen villain actors of all time. I'll just say it, period.
Yes. I mean, he's played Dracula several times. So, I mean, yes, he has to be a very good actor to do what he's done in the past. So, yes.
It's so funny, too, because when Tony and I did a movie review for a movie called Funny Man, Lee actually has an appearance in that film for a short time. But that small amount of time that he's in there, his presence is unmatched. Like it's like you just feel it. Like the guy knows how to be an actor. Like it's just he dominates whatever scene he's in. And you see that throughout this film a lot, that he's just controlled and he knows what he's doing and he plays the villain great. Just powerful moments from Lee in this.
Did we want to go into the plot of this movie? Do you want to start, DJ Anubis, with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I can a little bit. So basically, the basic synopsis is that Bond is working on sort of like climate issues going on, but at the same time, this is all going on. We have was it Scaramanga? Is that how he pronounced it? Scaramanga. Yeah. He's
Salamanca.
Yeah, he's like this former agent who now like I don't know. I guess he kind of like trophy hunts, sort of. He's like
a hitman, basically.
Yeah, he's like a hunter, and so he likes to challenge himself, which is kind of funny because one thing I do want to point out is before I get any further in is we have, of course, Roger Moore reprising his role as Bond. We have Brett Eklund, who is one of my favorite girls of that era.
Scream Queens of Horror, also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yep. She was in my top 25 list. She plays Mary Goodnight, which is like a Bond assistant / another type of spy.
I believe in the book she was like his secretary.
Right. Yeah, that's how they name her. You've got Maud Adams, who, to my knowledge, still is the only woman actress to play a Bond girl twice. So she's in this one the first time, and then Octopussy the second one. Clifton James, who played Sheriff J.W. Pepper in Live and Let Die Returns in this, still is funny as hell. I still can't get over that dude. Soon Tog Oh, who plays Lieutenant Hip. A lot of people will recognize him from a lot of different movies, especially in the 80s, like The Final Countdown, Missing in Action 2, a Chuck Norris film. Like he's been around forever in film. So
Anthony Jordan pointed out when we were watching this the other day that he was also made special appearances in MASH.
Yeah. He was always a big fixture in movies that I saw growing up in the 80s and 90s. So, and then of course you have, and I don't know how if I'm pronouncing this right. Maybe Anthony will correct me. Hervé Jean-Pierre Velchaz. He's most notably known for Tattoo for Fantasy Island, a show that I used to watch in the late 70s.
Here we have
A
him.
short guy, of course. Yes, there you go. And he plays Knick-Knack. And so there's always like some sort of like aka henchman that these villains have. And this case, he's playing Knick-Knack, which is very funny, very kind of clever. He's the one. But what I appreciate about him is that he helps Scaramanga basically set up his duels with these, like the first ones he's up against another hitman. And so he has like this little room that he has a guy come into, and then the lights go off, and Knick-Knack is there pushing buttons, and he actually fucks with Scaramanga a little bit because Scaramanga's like, okay, I'm gonna get my gun in the dark, and he can't get into the cabinet. So Knick-Knack's like cracking jokes like, no, can't get in there. You gotta go find your gun elsewhere. So you could just see Lee's face as a character, like, motherfucker.
Is it like if he dies, that Knick-Knack gets everything? So there is like
he makes that crack at the end. I don't know how accurate that is, but Knick-Knack clearly, like, you never know if Knick-Knack really just wants this guy to die or if he's just doing it to try to like appease somebody. So he says that to Bond, and I'm like, are you really trying to help Bond? Or are you just trying to?
I feel like it's one of those things where if he like blatantly like brings it towards whoever's favor, then he doesn't get it. But if he's subtle and the other guy just gets the upper hand and then kills him, then gets everything. So he has a incentive to be a little bit of a troll, but not too much.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, our opening scene, Scaramanga ends up killing this other hitman dude in this challenging little fight duel. So we also have where all of a sudden at the MI6 home base, I forget who the head guy is. It's not Q, but it's another dude that runs. Is it him? Is that him? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's telling Bond like, okay, well, this came for you. It's a nice little gold bullet with your number on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to point out in that opening scene with the guy that Bond. Sorry, in the opening scene that duels Scaramanga, he is also in Diamonds Are Forever. He is the same guy in the scene where they throw Plenty O'Toole. She's in the room and they throw her out the window.
Out the balcony, yeah.
Out the balcony window into the pool. So carry on, Anubis. I'm sorry. I'm getting a...
That's okay. That's a good point. So M's telling Bond that you ask him about Scaramanga if he knows who he is. Bond does. He knows his reputation. So he tells him, well, apparently you're on the list. So he's telling and I should note too, in that earlier fight in the room there's actually a mannequin of 007 Roger Moore there.
So
yes, that comes into play later. So M tells Bond, you got a hit on you, so we have to like have you step back from the other shit dealing with climate change and all that, and it actually ties them together. But he's like, I can't have you working on this because you might get killed or whatever. So Bond figures it out that all M's doing is saying, hey, you got to go find this dude and take him out so we can get back to work. And that's pretty much what happened. So Bond's like, well, if I find him first, and I was like, yeah, I could change some things, sure. And then it sets Bond on his little trip there. But the other part of this we got is, I'll say this, I'll hang it out to Anthony in a minute. But the cool thing about this at the time was it also dealt with at the time when there's a lot of martial arts films. So we see a lot of the martial arts incorporated into this movie with different fighting styles. We have the dojo and some of this other stuff going on. And so it's kind of like playing off of what was hot at the time, which usually happens with a lot of the Bond movies. They're always kind of pointing at certain things that are going on around them in entertainment. So, Anthony, go ahead, my friend.
Which I think so. It was interesting. Like, I want to bring up, I did do like some research. Like, I have the book, but I haven't read it. mainly because it's old and there's a few places where the binding's like on the verge of coming undone. And like, it's interesting some of the changes they made to make it more theatrical, because like Salamanca is like a completely different villain in there. He's kind of more of a thug that has his hands in like a few different pots, and he's still a hitman, but even the iconic golden gun as we know it is not in the book. He just has a golden revolver.
Oh, okay.
Interesting tidbit.
It's actually that's pretty good.
But I do like, as we go on and we get to Bond starts investigating.
We have to point out just one thing. I totally forgot. For whatever reason, Scaramanga has a third nipple. So just had to point that out because it comes
When you
up.
were speaking about, don't know if you can see that on the.
No, I can see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Done.
And apparently that gun is like very rare in terms of the movie itself. Like you can't find it.
Also,
anyway.
before Anthony continues, I was going to point out that it is made of three different items. It's a cigarette lighter, it's a cufflink, it's the cigarette case, and it's also a pin that's the barrel. But
Right.
Anthony, continue. It's really interesting.
Usually bring that up. I'll also give a little fact for that. Like Christopher Lee, he was having trouble like actually assembling the prop. And I forget who he was talking to, whether it was the director, a producer, or the guy who made the prop. And like the guy, I think he like had a book or something set up in Christopher Lee's talking, and he like just assembles it while him and Christopher Lee are talking back and forth and pulls it out. And Christopher Lee asked, "How'd you do that?" And I think he told him something to the effect of, "Here's what you do when you're watching TV at night and it cuts to a commercial, start assembling it. Once you get to where you can assemble it by the time commercial's up, you can then get to the point where you can assemble it without looking." But anyway, Bond finds out like his first like major clue, another 00 Bill Fairbanks has been killed, and he needs to investigate, and he goes to meet the woman who was with him when he died, who's a belly dancer, and she actually has the like crushed up bullet in her belly as a charm, and he wants to get it, and it's kind of this game of cat and mouse because she says it's her lucky charm and she never dances without it. Fortunately, Bond gets attacked, so he winds up swallowing the bullet. And there is an interesting little scene in the fight where they bump into a mirror and it just tilts it on this angle where you can see the filming crew.
Mm-hmm.
But Bond then goes, takes the bullet, and has it examined, and that leads them to Asia, and we get some good stuff with this casino, which again, it's got to say, one thing I do love especially about the older Bonds, how they kept taking you from exotic locale to exotic locale, which was so much a part
I was
of
going to also point.
Go on.
Sorry to cut you off, Anthony.
You go
I was
on.
going to point out something also. No, I'm gonna bring it to Walter, but Jenna Grand Vale. But I was gonna say also, I think that scene with Bill where they get the bullet out of her, Bond kisses her to get the bullet out of her, and then he's like he's sick, like he to the nearest pharmacy. I like how they add Q into this movie. What Live and Let Die sadly did not have as Q. It's okay. It doesn't hurt the movie that much. But what I like is how they brought Q into this kind of role as like a doctorish kind of, because they're like a spy kind of role in a sense, a little bit of it, because they want to investigate the bullet to check who made it, and they find out who made it, and his name is Lazar, and Bond interrogates him in a sense about to who is makeup. And here's an interrogate pick from that scene where Bond's got the gun and he's interrogating him. And it's a really interesting scene, I think. And the movie does a good job of showing it off because he's aiming straight at him, and if he fires and stuff, then it's going to be a direct hit. Were you going to say something? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just kind of checking it out. I muted it, but I didn't realize this. So I was never really crazy about the theme song for this by Lulu, and I saw that initially Alice Cooper had a song called "A Man with a Golden Gun" that was being considered. But I just listened to it, and I can say that even though I didn't really care for Lulu's version, I think Lulu's is a better fitting song than what Alice would have done. But I thought it was cool that Alice Cooper at that time was even considered for a Bond theme. You know, at the time, considering who he was and how scary it all was, shit like that.
That scene with the weapon maker, I like how it shows that Bond does have this really sadistic side to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I did read that either it was Ian Fleming or someone else on set, maybe the director, Guy Hamilton. I think it was Ian. I think Ian wanted Bond to be a little bit more serious. So like even when Bond twists Maud Adams' arm in the bed, Moore wasn't that crazy about it. He didn't really like doing that. He wanted to kind of seduce her, which has always been like a staple of Roger Moore's Bond interpretation. So it's like, but I think Jedi pointed out earlier, offset, and now Anthony points out like this is a more weirdly more serious Roger Moore Bond that we've seen through most of his films that we ever got.
I wonder how, because he wanted it more serious. I wonder how he would have liked it if it was like closer to the book, because in the previous book it ends with Bond being brainwashed. In the beginning of Man with a Golden Gun, he actually tries to assassinate M. So I kind of wonder if that was a bit much for Moore, how he would have liked it if they incorporated that.
That's good. I mean, that's
wow, I didn't know that about that.
Didn't either.
I'll pass the story to you, Jedi, and then I'll continue after you.
Okay. Well, going through all the changes of where the bullet was from, I mean, and everything. He's like I say, he's interrogating this guy, and you know, he says, "Well, I'm going to go to this pub. I guess we could gambling pub, and it's called Bottoms Up. No, not that.
Yes,
it
that's
is
it.
Okay. Yes, it's called Bottoms Up. And
Well, let me stop you.
Make sure I got it right.
I was gonna stop you right there because I don't know if that was the name of it, but that does come up later in the.
No, I'm sorry. I'm jumping. I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun here. No,
You're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
But no, because this is where he comes into, because they tell him it's in Macau, and like I say, and he goes there, and blah blah blah. But he Hazard tells him that he's going to make the exchange to whoever picks it up, and it's a gambling place where he exchange it for money and everything. And he follows this woman, which is played by Maud Adams, and he follows her, and this is where we get the introduction of. I gotta say, I'm going to say this right now. Now, you know, I mentioned something about Denise Richard, the character that she plays in
Christmas. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting too much on her character because her character is straightforward who she is. But the character of Goodnight, when we're introduced to, let me just say, she has got to be one of the most annoying Bond characters that I have ever met or seen in my life, because the fact that she is introduced, she's like I say, she's actually kind of good at her job, but her common sense is so off the rails. It's just like, how is it that you got this far from, office duty to field office? Because here
well, they definitely played off of her sex appeal, because if you look back towards the end, and even now, because you have to understand, I hadn't seen this movie in quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm watching it, I'm watching, as you said, I'm watching her character. So, and I'm watching her ass bumps into the fucking button, and I'm like, okay, they actually did that. But that's the way they wrote her character, and it's funny because she wanted to play a Bond girl, and she wanted to play that role.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if we were to talk to her today. I think she's like in her 80s and still around, which is cool.
Yeah,
but
she's still
if we were to talk to her today, I wonder how she would feel about how her character was portrayed in this, because obviously Maude was taken a little bit more seriously with her character as opposed to Britt. But Britt, yeah, she was treated kind of like an idiot, And
yes.
so,
and
that's the way that
why
Bond kind of treated her.
And I think that's the thing. I think you're right about, is because I think she was written that way, and that's probably why it was so annoying, knowing that she when she comes in hot, blocks his way when he's trying to follow the rose that's Maude is in, and he's like, "Good night," it's like he just kind of messed up things right here, and then he told the number to the car, and she gives off this horrendous laugh like a hyena. I'm just like, what is this laugh you're giving off, But I realized she does know information about the cars that they're following, that is predominantly this particular, hotel that they use it for. Now, with that being said, we realize that even though she is kind of written kind of airheadish, and it's kind of ironic that she's a blonde and it's giving out that stereotype that blondes are ditzy and everything. This character, and I'm just say it like this. I'm gonna say it in a very PG version way. All she cares about when it comes to Bond is this: she wants the D from JB. That's pretty much it. That's the whole thing through the film. Even though she's doing a job, she wants to get intimate with Bond so badly that she puts up this, kind of, feminine thing of doing, it's like, oh, you're going out with this woman, you're doing this. I'm like, woman, you're on an assignment. Why are you getting so feminine like now? And the funny thing is, this is back in the 70s. If you was to do something like this now, it would be so honed as women empowerment. And I'm just like, no, this is just the dumbest thing that you can do. Stop.
How funny is like half the chicks that Bond in this era are doing it, like, they always end up in closets.
Yes, because the previous one, Live and Let Die, that woman ended up in the closet. But no, the go ahead with the story is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't want to go into really spoilers.
I'll finish. I'll just finish it up with where I was at. But
no, not about the movie. No, the movie is fine to spoil because Anthony's seen it. Anthony has not seen Live and Let Die. That's what.
You can spoil it. I don't care.
Oh, okay.
No, don't spoil it.
Okay, don't spoil it. Well,
I'm fine with. I'm 100% fine with hearing spoilers for it.
Well, if you do see
it,
because
you fucking need to see it, dumbass.
You just
then I'll still see it. It affect my enjoyment.
I don't care if I just sit you in some watch party and force you to watch.
It's like you say, strap him down. It's like watch this, like in the they got the Malcolm McDowell in the.
To be fair, Anthony, I think that you would I think you'd really enjoy that film.
The only reason I haven't seen it was because it was in that one set I could never get.
That's crazy. That'd drive me bonkers. Like if I had the other three that you have and I couldn't get that one with my favorite Bond movie, I'd be so pissed.
It was driving me nuts, but I just eventually like, oh well.
Yeah, you got to check it out at some point. Because it's so good.
If you have to, just rent it, streaming it, it's on there. But no, the continue. But the kind of continue. I mean, conclude or gonna say what I was saying. They continue on. He tells her about the car and everything. He goes and interrogates her, Maud Adams' character, and he almost, like I say, and this is why I say he seems more vicious in this scene, because I remember watching this, but looking back, I realized he was a little bit more vendetted in what he was doing to interrogate somebody.
It felt more like something you would see Sean Connery's Bond.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yes,
it seemed like
it
it was
did.
almost out of character for, as you say, Nubis, that Moore didn't want to do this, and I can kind of hint that, because it didn't seem like that was him wanting to play that character like that. He wants to do the charming thing with the women and everything, but the way he does it, he's more visceral with it. So he does go, and again, this is where he goes to the place where she's going to exchange the bullets and everything at the so-called bottoms up and everything, and we're introduced to the other guy, the other main character, the Asian guy, and he and through all this, you're thinking that Bond is on a hit list, but you'll soon discover that there's a misdirect with that. So, but I want to continue. I want to take it up with anybody else. I'll pass it on to you, Euban, or whoever you want to pass it to.
I just think, like, mentioning like the martial arts stuff in this, I do find it like kind of funny. In the book, Bond is an expert in judo. Although we do see him occasionally do some martial arts, we never really see any judo from him.
Yeah,
Right.
because he does do a bunch of. And I want to point. Now we bring this up. Let me point this out real quick, because this is an interesting thing in this film. We, along with the partner that he teams up with, that's in the movie, we're introduced with two female characters that here are his nieces and everything. And I want to point out this little trivia that I don't know if any of you guys know this. The short-haired girl that's playing his niece, has any of you seen Kung Fu Hustle? Just out of curiosity.
I have, but it's been a while.
Okay, I just want to point this out. The girl that plays one of the girls in that movie, she's the woman. She would later play the woman in Kung Fu Hustle, who has that incredible lion voice that can just destroy anyone in his path or anything like that. I did not know this until someone else pointed that out. And she
That's
is
cool.
she is a well-trained martial artist from back in the day, and I just didn't realize that, because they did hire actual martial artists for this film, considering that it is set in an Asiatic country, but she is in that film. And like I say, she's just a young person. Of course, she's a young person. She was in her 20s when she made this film. In that film, it was a little later, but I just wanted to point that out, because it's like, yes, he's like, go figure that she made this, but I never realized that was her then. And then you see her later on down the line in something else now, So I just wanted to put that little trivia there for you.
I was gonna ask. I think she's in one of the Godzilla movies, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I get the feeling one of them might have been in one of the Showa or Heisei, but I can't.
I don't know. I mean, it might be. I mean, because like I say, it's you never know, because they do. Now, I will point this out. I mean, I don't want to get off too topic, but remember back then the Chinese and Japanese still have some kind of, I don't want to say beef. I'll just say some kind of discrepancy because of what happened during World War II. So the fact that you had that, it was kind of hard to get someone who is of a different Asiatic
Right.
into a film, either if it's Chinese or Japanese. But someone like Ashiro Honda was not like that. He was a pacifist. He was somebody say, put your differences aside and let's make peace. So she didn't
show up. She didn't show up in any Godzilla films. However, she did show up in Disciples of the 36th Chamber, which is a good movie. So she did a lot of martial arts stuff. So
it's still kind of that way. Like in Japan, like I know, like if you're like a Chinese or like a Korean immigrant, you're not looked on as like favorably.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
So, and it's sad that that kind of thing is still, abundant now. But I guess if you look back at the history of what there was done during that time, I can understand. And sorry to say, I'm getting off topic again.
You're good.
If you discuss the fact that, and I don't look at it this way. I realize that me being, and here's a crazy thing. I'm black. Go figure. No,
You don't say.
yeah, exactly. No, it's that kind of funny, right? No, the
Mhm.
thing about it is that I hear so many people who are black and everything, African American, they would bring up this topic of slavery back 400 years ago, blah, 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 all these things. And I'm thinking, okay, I get it. We had discrepancy. The white man did this, the white man did. But here's the thing. That was then, that was the past. Try to look at things now and stop looking in the past as if that's the only way that's guiding you to the future.
Exactly. Put it in this term. Say your great grandfather murdered my great grandfather. That's not on you.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's funny how even now those countries have that animosity between them, and then, like I say, like in Korea especially, there's a couple of statues where they present women who were unfortunately,
Comfort women.
yes, by Japanese men, and I won't go into too detailed about that, but it shows that it's a thing to show that we want to remember what was being done and not forget that this is what happened back then. But it's like, okay, I understand that. I understand that pain, but that pain should not be the driving thing that drives you to do whatever comes in the future with. And this is the reason why I say, when you brought that up, was she ever in a Godzilla film? I don't know, because that was the kind of thing, even with the films back in the 50s and the 60s, you would rarely see someone who's actually from China in a Japanese film. I mean, I know maybe Mr. Hana might have, he might have done that, but I'm telling you right now, someone on the business side was like, I don't feel too comfortable having someone who's this in our film. It's like, dude, we're playing a part. Why can't you just put that aside? And it's just that, like that. And that's why I say bringing that history up, because it was like that, and unfortunately you still have that kind of now. I mean, I wish it would be done away with, but I mean, hey, it's human nature. It's, I guess they can't forget things, they can't let things go.
I was gonna add. Okay, back to the movie now. You're good. That was fine. I was gonna add. I was gonna say, after the two guys in the bar come out at the bottoms up, one guy gets assassinated by Scaramanga with the golden gun in tow, and Knick Knack approaches and's like, "Oh, there's a little short person there also," and it's like he's standing there, and then he walks off eventually, and then the police guy comes out and with in tow, and we get to this little snippet. Here's a little black and white picture of right around, and Bond gets arrested basically, and he gets taken to this really cool base. I like the base that they used for M's location. So one tidbit that I noticed when they did some of the Connery movies, also in the Moors, and I don't know if they did this. Oh, well, they did this in one of the Brosnan movies also, but when they're on location with Bond and stuff, they will go to different, like Anthony pointed out earlier, they will go to different scenic locations even when Bond's there on, like Hideout or Headquarters. They will move the headquarters in all these different movies. It's really cool. I like that tidbit about Bond.
No, I mean, that's a good. See, back then, I mean, and as you say now, I don't know if they do it as much then because of the technology and everything. But I feel that's a wimpy way of doing things, but that's a cop out. But back then, they would actually go to these locations, really go to these locations. Yeah, some of it was filmed in studio in England, but they would actually go to these these locations, like with the Spy Who Loved Me. They actually went to Egypt. They and like I say, You Only Live Twice. They actually went to Japan and filmed scenes in there. They went to different places to film these events, because it's best to just do that instead of just filming in studio. You get a real tangible feel when filming these things. And like I say, that particular place where they're have the offices at, I'm not sure, because the Queen Elizabeth, I'm not sure if that's a real record. I'm assuming it is.
It is. It is a real record.
It is okay. It's the fact that you actually take real places and use them to your advantage and make it yours when it comes to that. And that's what I love about these films, these Bond films, especially back during the 60s, 70s.
The interesting thing, the island that Lee was at, is a real place. Yes. And at the time of filming, it was deserted when they were filming, but now it's like a tourist attraction.
Oh, makes sense. And that's the thing. That's what I love about these films, is that they really did things real. They really went to the bat of doing all these things in camera, on the scenes, and didn't do it in a back lot. I feel that that's the thing you get a lot of when you watch these Bond films, is that you are there.
It's fun for us, but I imagine all the globe trotting for the cast and crew had to get pretty tiring.
Oh no, it's that's the thing. Let's be honest. You're traveling back and forth from either Africa to Australia, maybe to Russia, and then you go, and then, like I said, the last film y'all did with Live and Let Die. They actually, which surprised me, they actually went to Louisiana, my home state, to film a lot of that stuff. I was thinking
my understanding, they actually filmed in the Caribbean for the in the opening scene for the snake and stuff also.
Right. See, they actually
and what was I gonna say? So like with this one here, they were in Thailand for parts of it. And then, as you said, there were some other parts, even when you think, I think it was, is it Living Daylights, or no? It's probably License to Kill. I don't know which one of them was filmed in Greece or something. It was they're not afraid to go to different places.
For Your Eyes Only. That was in Greece.
I think
you're right. You're right. It is. Yeah.
License to Kill was in Miami in South America.
That's right. Yep.
I was gonna go back to the movie and say, when after the scene with Gibson, after Bond gets arrested, Bond in do we have a name for the Asian guy that was what's the name of the guy's name?
Hip.
Inspector Hip. Thank you. I forgot it for a second there. When Bond and Inspector Hip, they investigate the plight of a business lord named High Fat, and they go there, and Bond climbs on top of Hip's shoulders and goes over the wall, and Bond gets a third nipple from Q.
Right.
It's funny to me. And we get introduced to a girl in the water.
Yes.
Chume.
It's funny. But anyways,
and I love that moment, because he's like, well, I'd join you, but I don't have a bathing suit. She's like, well, neither do I. And he's like,
yeah. Also, with that scene, Bond, he knows who Bond is, I guess, in a sense, High Fat. So because he's working with Scaramanga, or he's with, yeah. So Bond goes back so he tells Bond or somebody to come back at night for dinner. And at night, when Bond gets captured, by two sumo wrestlers,
Mhm.
and Nick Nack's in this cool little. He's got this mask over his face,
Right.
and he's got this like trident, and he goes whacks pokes one of the sumo wrestlers or something. And then the next morning, Bond is taken to karate school, and I love this set piece. Like Jedi Grand Vale had talked about, with the karate and all that stuff. I really love the set piece. I think it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because Bond goes to school. He fights one guy. He fights Hessman, I believe, is the second guy. I don't know. There is only two guys Bond fought at the karate school, to my understanding. Sorry, Shula is the other guy, and he's an interesting henchman to me. When they fight for a little bit and stuff, Bond gets the upper hand. He escapes, jumps through a wood barricade or fence and stuff.
It's like a lattice. Yeah.
It's like a what?
A lattice.
A lattice. Okay. So Bond jumps through a lattice and Bond gets out on the floor. He's met by Lieutenant Hip and his two nieces, like Jedi Grand Vale said also about. And they know Kung Fu because their father is one of the Kung Fu instructors.
Yes.
And I like that scene. I like the Kung Fu. I like the music that's played. I was going to point out this movie has one of my favorite songs, probably for one of the Moore eras in it. I'll get that when I get to it. But I like how Bond, they fight off the guys, the nieces, and Bond escapes on a boat. He gets a boat out of the water, and he has the throttle? No, the anchor, whatever the thing is that spins on the back of the boat. I can't remember.
Oh, propeller.
Propeller. And he says, "How about a Mexican screw job or something?"
Mm-hmm.
Some line like that. And it's just funny to me. And then Bond with the boat in tow takes off, and we're introduced to JW again in it. In this
Or
reintroduced. Yeah. And this is a funny moment. This guy just provided comedy that we needed for these movies, I think. So you want to take us away, Anubis, with the scene and stuff?
Well, yeah, so Bond, this is where the boat chase starts going on, and it's done a little bit differently than Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die had more speedboats. This is more like these little long boats. And I talked about earlier about how Roger Moore did not like twisting the arm of Maude Adams in the one scene they had earlier in the film. There's a part in this film where a young boy jumps into his boat, which is kind of going at a slower pace. He's trying to run away from the other guys, but he's running at a slower pace. And so the boy jumps in, try to sell him this wooden elephant. And it's a weird scene, to be honest, but he's negotiating with Bond about, hey, you give me so many bots for this, and, trying to get money out of him because he sees him as a tourist. So Bond goes, well, I'll give you 20,000 baht if you can make this thing go any faster. So the kid just twists his little thing on the side that increases the speed of the boat. And then Bond, of course, in true fashion, knocks the boy over the water. Says, well, you have to get back to you on that rain check. But that was another scene where Moore was not comfortable doing that. He didn't want to push the boy into the water and stuff like that. So just a trivia there.
So that's something I could see Bond doing, if nothing else, just to get the kid out of harm's way.
Yeah.
I was going to point out, maybe this was during his time, like Neko had pointed out in the previous episode 1, where Moore was a part of UNICEF. I wonder if that had something to do why he, didn't want to push the child out
Well,
of the
I
water.
don't think he liked genuine violence. Like, I think if you look at all his films, like, sure, he's playing Bond who isn't afraid to kill if he has to, but real physical violence, and I think it's more towards women and kids. I think that's where Moore's morals play into it. Like, I don't like men, he probably didn't care, but at that time, like, in considering how kind of like some of his themes are throughout the films, like, it's surprising that he has that kind of viewpoint. Like, I get it. I mean, you don't want to hurt women, but it's not like they were really intentionally trying to do it. Either way, I kind of forgot where I was going to go with that because there was something else I was going to say in regards
You
to
were
that.
going on the speedboat, on the boat.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about something else off camera, but anyway,
About the boy getting
oh, so
pushed.
he ends up like finally kind of getting away, and he ends up running into J.W. Pepper, who we know for the sheriff from Live and Let Die, who's has to be on vacation with his wife. So now, as they are realizing they're still chasing Scaramanga, and I think Nick Nack's with them too. And has he already gotten? Yeah, I shouldn't avoid this. So there is a point. I don't want to drag this out too long, but there is a point where they are at like this fighting ring, illegal fighting ring or whatever it is, and not legal, but just a match with Mai Tai and stuff like that. So he comes across where what is Andrea Anders, played by Maud Adams. She's there. She's supposed to give him the Solar X, which is a device for the solar panel machine that he's got. And he's sitting next to her watching the match, and he's like, "Do you have the device?" And she's just staring straight ahead. And I totally forgot about this scene, but he realizes when he looks at her a little closer that she's been shot. And how it is, no one heard it. It's pretty good, but shot. We should note that Scaramanga has a very good aim in this film. But so she's dead, wide-eyed, just looking straight ahead. He realizes it, and then of course Scaramanga comes and sits down next to him, and Nick Nack's behind him with a gun, so he can't really do much. But Scaramanga hasn't found the device at this point, which Bond ends up finding it's on the ground. Somehow Anders was able to drop it or something as she was shot or whatever. But anyway, to kind of speed it up, they ended up giving it to Lieutenant Hip, who gives it to
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, thank you. And of course, in dopey fashion, she sees a little midget because she hears that the midget tried to hold him hostage or whatever. So she follows the midget out, Nick Nack, to the car, and she's trying to get into the trunk to see what's in there. And of course, somebody comes up, dumps her in. Anyway, the chase is on, and so JW, he's inside a car dealership looking at cars, and he's sitting in the passenger seat. And Bond jumps in, and he doesn't even really look at it first. He's like, "Yeah, what about a test drive?" And that's of course when Bond and him blow through the glass window as they're gonna go on a chase with this. They call it the AMC Hornet. This is like the equivalent of the Gremlin. Okay, so they're flying down the road, and there comes a moment where, I should mention this too, because somehow Scaramanga gets on the other side of the river, and so of course JW is kind of cracking jokes like, "Well, you made a bad choice there, British agent." So this is when Bond turns around, and probably the best stunt of the movie is takes the car and does this like broken down bridge, and he does this like turn, flips over, and then goes across and makes it. Great stunt.
Yes.
I was going to point out something real quick.
Yeah.
So this part right here, there's a song. So there's a song with the not actual lyrics and stuff, but like the music and stuff. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoy this song choice that they used. It's called "Let's Go Get Them" on YouTube. If you wanted to look that up, you can. It's interesting. It's It's got the sound effect of the flip of the car in the song also.
You mentioned the music,
and it's really interesting.
You mentioned the
Yes, I
music.
just did.
One thing I always appreciated about the Bond films was how they used a leitmotif, and throughout the film, you're always going to hear some variation of the title theme sprinkled throughout.
Yeah.
And you went to the AMC Hornet.
Okay.
I had a friend who was a mechanic back in the 70s. He passed away now, but he told me they always dreaded whenever they had to service an AMC car in the shop.
I bet.
Did you want to continue, Anubis, with the story?
Yeah. So they try to chase him down. Of course, by now the local police are chasing him, and they get to an area where there's some buildings and stuff, and then we realize that Scaramanga has somehow attached wings to his car.
Mm-hmm.
So they take off. They're flying. JW's like, "What? You've never seen a plane before?" And then he realizes there's a car on it. I could have sworn initially that he made some comment about, "Is that a flying car?" I thought he had said that, but never did. Either way, they lost him, and I'll turn it over to Anthony.
I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, like you said, you have that great scene with just the last punchline with the sheriff when he realizes it's the car, and Bond quickly figure out how to get there, and Bond gets on a plane, and it turns out Salamanca, he's in Chinese waters, which at this time they still are communist, and they're not exactly the friendliest to either America or Britain, so it makes it kind of a touchy situation. But Bond gets in the plane, and the Chinese military contacts him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm expecting company, and he won't be leaving."
In a very sinister way.
So Bond gets to the island, and he meets up with Salamanca, and he's got Goodnight there, and they just have kind of their little back and forth, and they both know, and the audience, we know that it's gonna end in a shootout between the two, but they're trying to get their last mental one-upsmanship on one another, and they go back into the little shooting arena, and we know Bond only has 8 shots, and he wastes a few of them in the arena. Knick-Knack still.
Was it just me though with the when they're eating lunch? Was it just me, or did you get a sense that Scaramanga was almost trying to recruit Bond, because he's like, "You and I were alike."
I got
you kind of get the thing where Bond is probably one of the few targets where he actually respects them, and he's like, I'd rather not kill you, and it'd be more fun having you around.
Damn.
But what I like is it went back to the mannequin we seen of Bond before, where Bond, I guess he knocks the mannequin out of the way and just stands there in the pose, because he knows he's got 1 shot left, and he's not going to beat Salamanca in a straight up shootout. So he ambushes him, and that's when we realize, wait, that mannequin now has all its fingers.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots and kills Salamanca, but it's not the end of the movie. We still have more stuff to go, and I'll leave that for Walter.
Yes. No. And I have to say, this is the climax is pretty. I mean, this is the moment where I said before, how this character of Goodnight is kind of written. You had brought this up, Anubis, that one shot where her anatomy is the cause of what goes on, and she's actually the reason why the place goes on to a thermal meltdown, because she's like I say, she's doing her part, to help out. Yes, but unfortunately, it just adds insult to injury, because the cooling system that you see, she knocks out one of the guards and he falls in, but there can't be no higher, no lower than the temperature it is. And unfortunately, he falls in. And well, we're about to have, like so many times we see in these Bond films, something blow up dramatically, So after Bond has taken out Salamander, he's got to get the coat. Is it coat? How you pronounce it? The Rolex or Kotex or
Solex.
Solex? Thank you. I'm trying to
Solex, yeah.
Solex. Now, the thing is, he asked Goodnight. He said, "Goodnight, I don't want to ask any stupid questions, but where exactly did you hit the guy? I mean, where you knocked him out cold at?" It's funny how she says, "I knocked him out cold." Where did you knock him out cold? And it's like, so he has to get the Solex out where it's at the at a very pinnacle place, because when the sun panels come in and the shines on this place, it gives this incredible heat beam that pretty much fuels the energy that Salamander is trying to do and everything. And now that I think about it, that whole subtext with the Solex and everything, it's almost like a red herring to a degree, because even though we're talking about energy or in culture, climate change kind of stuff like that, it's almost a back story kind of thing, because even though we know that's part of the story, it seems like kind of like we don't really need that. It's all about who Salamander is and what is his game.
That's what they spent a lot of time on, was just Scamander manga. You just pointed out, like the other story they wanted to try to run with just never really came up until the end, really. Mm-hmm. And that's just because he was using it for money.
but to get back to where it's going to, he the funny thing is he's telling Goodnight, hit the button, to stop the ray or whatever coming in here. And it's like she does nothing in this moment to help the situation. All it is that, and I would say it like this: the Almighty had a hand in stopping it for a minute. That's the reason, because she had nothing to do with that stuff, But and I want to point something out too. This is the thing I think a lot of people overlook. That a lot of these films were done tangibly. They were done in camera and everything. There is a lot of great miniature work done, especially at the end sequence, inside the cooling area and the formation of those rock pillars and everything. Some of that was done on location, but when it's blowing up, when it's explosion and everything, that's miniature. That's done by a very talented miniature artist who's long since gone, Derek Middings. He's been doing a lot of the Bond films throughout the time, and his last one he did was GoldenEye, and that was his last picture. But he's done several movies through his career before he passed away in '95. But I just wanted to point that out, that there's a lot of good miniature effects in this film. In fact, when the car plane flies up, that's actually a miniature. That's a remote control miniature that's flying. Yeah, you would never know. I would think they would actually get it to actually fly a flying car for this, but that's actually a miniature RC flying for that sequence, and it just focuses in a way where it looks like, say, real and everything. But everything's going to shit, everything's blowing up, and they get on the junk, Salamander's junk. And the thing about this, and the funny thing is, you don't even think about it, but you're thinking like, where's Knick-Knack? I mean, he should be dead, he should have gone in the explosion. So at this crucial moment, the thing that Goodnight been wanting all for the last 2 years was to get some of Bond. And they're about to get some. She's about to get some. But Knick-Knack is hiding up in the ceiling, about to do something. And the thing about this is that, he's small, but he can do some damage. But the thing about this is, your master is dead. Why are you, still trying to,
But see, I contemplated why that might be because we talked about it earlier with Anthony about whether or not he wanted to take over once Scaramanga was dead. But now that the island's blown up, he's got nothing. So maybe that's all he's got. And then I thought, like, the funniest thing about it was because he is so small, when he goes under the desk, he literally kicks Bond in the shin. I'm like, oh my God. It's so atypical of a midget to do that.
I mean, that's beautiful. No, but the film ends with the fact that Bond is Bond always, as these Bond films usually do, especially back then. He gets the girl, they get the
he's coming.
Yeah, he's coming. Yes, exactly. I mean,
sexual innuendos.
I love those innuendos. See, and the funny thing is, I didn't catch those innuendos when I was a kid. I mean, of course, I'm not going to catch them when I was a kid. But when you get to an adult, it's like, damn, boy, they were very predominant in these films. They were very out there. So M calls, and I'm trying to figure out, how does he know Bond's on the ship? How does he know he's on the boat?
That's something else too, because I think that's a movie mistake. Because if I'm correct, the boat belongs to Scaramanga, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
So how on earth would they even have any access to anything on there?
But he calls. He's asking Bond, to telling Bond that good job and everything, and this Agent Goodnight there, and he's saying she's coming, sir. And which in a way she is, and he kept saying good night, and Bond
good night.
And he says good night, sir. Hangs up the phone and does his thing, and we wonder what happened to Knick-Knack. He's hanging in the rafters of the sails and everything,
like a bird cage. I don't know.
Like the mast.
And I love the funny thing is, see, things like this they would do totally differently now. They would do it like a CG moment or whatever. I'm just like, here they actually did it for real with a pan out shot, helicopter shot, him just hanging there, and it's just beautiful,
And he just has that defeated look on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ends like that, though. Yeah.
He's like, well, this has been about the worst day of my life.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And I'm wondering when they put him in a cage, will it be like one of those carry-on cages or something like that to keep him on, or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
It's almost kind of a shame, like he didn't get to be Jaws' sidekick.
Yeah.
That would have been so good.
That would have been,
so good. That would be like the epic crossover moment.
Oh my God.
Or even like, do you remember who was the big Asian dude? The bigger guy?
Odd Job.
Odd Job, yeah.
Odd Job,
Him was like a trio.
Didn't like Odd Job get killed?
He might have, yeah.
He did. He got electrocuted. Yes.
Okay, scoring time.
Okay.
Who's first?
Me?
I
would say age before beauty.
Well, okay. Going there with that, huh? Yeah, yes. Okay. A few things first. So you remember when Eklund and Moore are running away from it when it starts blowing up? Well, that fall she has was legit. That was real. Like, she actually tripped and Moore had to come back and pick her up and take her out. So that was actually a real fall. I remembered that Hervé had passed away, but I didn't remember why. And then when I reread it, like, he committed suicide because he was feeling pain from his dwarfism. So that's a very sad thing. I felt really bad for that guy. But that happened like around 93.
Or something. I think that's how you say it, but
yeah. And then also, of course, Clifton James, who played J.W. Pepper, the sheriff, he and Moore had passed away about a month apart. How ironic is that? That's crazy. Wow. And then the last cool tidbit that I learned and I didn't know is that Christopher Lee is actually cousins with Ian Fleming.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
So ranking wise, Man, it's so hard because, like, again, I have never done an actual. You're going to have me do it tonight, Olvin. I'm going to be doing this whole damn Bond ranking tonight because I'm like, I've got to figure out where everything falls. I just don't know. But scoring wise, I'm 1 out of 10. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Anthony?
Mainly because I think Christopher Lee is just amazing anyway, so his performance alone is worth it.
I'm gonna give it a 8.5 out of 10. It's like debatedly my favorite Roger Moore film. Admittedly, it does have some issues, like the main crux of the plot just felt what his plot was just felt loosely tied in, and it could have just been more about, okay, I need to stop him before he does a presidential assassination or something.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. A lot of the jokes do hit. Knickknack's entertaining. The chemistry between Moore and Christopher Lee is really good, and I kind of like wish we could like see outtakes from this with just more scenes of them together.
Yeah.
But about an 8.5, it's a solid Moore outing.
Jedi.
Well, I would have to give because it's kind of like Anubis. It's like it is such a hard rate, and see these films, especially because you got to remember these films are my childhood, especially like this one. I mean, this is my childhood, and the ones further along when I got into the 90s and later on, they were, some of them were okay, not all the best, but I would have to give this one kind of like Nubis and Anthony. It's around 8. It's about 8. Because even though this is not my favorite of Moore's Bonds, it's still up there because it's very entertaining.
I think it's hard because, again, with Christopher Lee being like very good in this and Moore doing his thing, it's like the story kind of fails it a little bit here and there, like just inconsistent, like you said about the solar stuff being more of it really could have been just left out and you probably wouldn't care, because if it would have been just Scaramanga just trying to like find his ultimate opponent, that would work. You could live with that, you know what I mean? But I think because it has all this other stuff going on, and then Britt, who I love adoringly, her character was just dipshit, and it's like really, it's almost like you were looking at an early heir apparent to Austin Powers, because that's kind of, they took a lot of shit from that to make fun of that, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just unfortunately, I think I don't even know. Does Anthony? Did Christopher Lee ever speak about this film, about how he felt about it?
I'm not 100% sure. I know I think he's on some interviews on the DVD, but I ain't watched that in forever, so I don't want to say for sure one way or the other. But I don't think he spoke negatively about it either.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he ever felt like the story might have failed him a little bit, but I don't recall him ever saying anything negative about this particular film. Now, Howling 2, wholly different. You don't want to speak about that one.
Yeah, and what's funny is like he actually did Gremlins 2 at a reduced rate as an apology to Joe Dante because he felt so bad about doing the Howling 2. Like he basically just took it to get a chance to apologize to him.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot he did Howling 2. That's right. He did do that one. That's like, oh my God.
Yeah. You, Alvin.
My score. Yep. I have to go with an 8 out of 10 as well. I'm just right around that ballpark range because it's, to me, Christopher Lee's introduction to me personally. So, and then you got Maud Adams, who would be in Octopussy later down the road. She's one of those rare characters that's played by a different character, but same actress in another Bond role as a female Bond girl. Also, you got, I think this could be Roger Moore's second best because how gritty, how dark, he got in this. I also have to say this is Herv's my introduction to Herv. I had never seen anything else before his work, before this movie of his. Yeah, I think the story can get, like you guys are saying, sometimes it can be there, sometimes it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, let's go through what upcoming content on our channels. I'll start with you, DJ Anubis.
Yeah, so coming up, I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow night. We'll have to talk with Tony, but if we do Ghouls of Midnight, the next one up is my choice, which would be special effects from 1984. Later in the week, on the 19th, would be another Ghouls. Unless we don't do it tomorrow, then I'll do that on Wednesday. But if I do one tomorrow, then Wednesday would be another Ghouls with Tony, whatever pick he has. But I also have my first Kaiju Spotlight of my second batch with Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters as we tackle Gorgo. Then on the 20th, I'm not sure how many of you guys are going to be on the Century stream for Ninja Scroll, the movie.
I'll be there.
We're going to review that. Friday, the Wretched Movie Show, I think Anthony and Walter might be on that. I can't remember, for Starship Troopers.
No, I won't be there for that because it's going to be a lot earlier than usual, so I won't be able to attend.
So
that.
Anthony, I think he's on that one. Maybe Tony was the one that was talking about it. I can't remember.
Yeah,
And then, of course, another Silver Screen Savants episode for our third one. We might actually, I know I've been talking with Alvin a little bit, might try to do 2 a week, just depends on the schedule. But as of right now, I'll get with him later to decide if we can find another room for another one. But as of now, the next pick is mine, which will be Dread from 2012. So I'm looking forward to revisiting that classic. Yeah. And of course, you guys are welcome to join us if you wish to do that, as always.
Mm-hmm. Anthony Jordan, you're up.
Well, I got the upload my Destroy All Monsters review. I got to review All Monsters Attack. I guess I'll definitely be on the Dread one, and like Anubis mentioned, with Kevin, we'll be doing Starship Troopers, and towards the end of the month for Tony of the Dead's birthday, we're doing the Dead movies, the Night of the Living Dead 1990.
It's gonna be fun.
The original Dawn of the Dead, original Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, and Diary of the Just Why.
And then go ahead, Jedi Greenville.
Yes. Well, it's funny. It's almost going to be scripted almost. I've said this numerous times, but I'll keep on saying because it needs to be said. Since I've gotten new equipment, because I'm on my laptop now, hopefully, and like I say, at least a month's time, if it's a little bit more, I will hopefully be doing exactly what you guys are doing, whether it be recordings or live streams of different subjects and movie topics and everything, because I want to get my feet wet out there and do that. And hopefully when it gets settled in, I can invite you guys and you come on and we discuss and you give your hardcore knowledge or feels about the films that I point out, because I'm going to be running the gamut. I'm not going to just point out and just total, Japanese films or anime or anything. I'm going to say I'm going to talk about any kind of topic, and hopefully when I pick it, you've either seen it or at least had an idea of it. But along them lines, it's going to be around that time. But hopefully, in like I say, a month or two, I'll be up and running. And once when I get there, like I say, you're all invited to come join me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will say this also real quickly, because Neko's been working on our new website, so we'll probably have that up soon, and I'll share that with everybody. But that's obviously it's going to have the radio player for the internet radio that I run for Metal Tavern. It's going to have some more videos, and then I'm going to have a tab where all your guys' links to your YouTube channels will be in there as well. So just to be aware of that. So, but once we're kind of done with all that, I'll share that, and you guys can say, "Hey, check it out, we're on military." Oh, great.
Right. Cool. Yeah, but that's about it, though.
And for me, I have on upcoming this Thursday, the 20th, I have Mr. Anthony Jordan, Movies and Games, is joining us for Mothra versus Godzilla 1964. We are discussing it, reviewing it on Tokusatsu Action Thursday Night Titans. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I will be going in depth about it because I have kind of a first-time experience with Godzilla with this movie, but I'll just stop right there. I don't want to go into spoilers or anything like that. So,
if I'm correct, you haven't seen a lot of them, right? So yeah,
I have seen some.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you haven't seen all of them because like I think you told me that a while back that you hadn't quite seen them all. So anybody watching this, be paying attention because like if you're really interested in the kaiju, Godzilla, and stuff like that, it'd be neat to see his reaction to some of the other films that he'll be getting to eventually to see what his feelings are on those films.
Right.
I'll be looking forward to seeing what his feelings are in those films. So.
Right.
And then also, like Anubis said, next Saturday is episode number 3 of the Silver Screen Savants, where we will be covering Dread.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever else is joining us, I guess Anthony just told us that he'll be joining us.
That guy right there, over there. If he's not asleep by then.
Well, I'm usually not asleep till around 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, look.
Right.
I used to be like that. Now I can't do that shit anymore.
It's not intentional. I just toss and turn till like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. Stick around for those to watch the full video at the end. This guy over here,
Right?
No, this guy DJ Anubis put together a really cool intro for this movie. Stick around, and this has been Silver Screen Savants episode 2. Let's get out of here and see you next time.
Yeah.